Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Frozen Spirits Drinking in Alaska. My name is Gary. Welcome back to another episode. And so for you today, I'm doing something a little bit different. I had somebody give me a sample and ask me to give them an honest review. And I think to give an honest review, you can't just try it. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to try it. But then let's jack it up to a couple of things. So I looked it up. What we've got is Old Settler Bourbon. And it is about the $50 mark, somewhere between $45 and $55. So we'll just 50. And so it says some really cool stuff. I got my phone here. Let's look up the tasting notes according to ubooze.com. And they say this is a specially selected high rye Kentucky straight bourbon. Displays a pure auburn mahogany color. And I would agree with that, along with a halo of yellow gold. Ooh, that's true. And, wow, see, this is why they give me plastic. And so, classic aromas of toasty oak, vanilla, dried plum, raisin, and maple caramel are complemented by hints of tobacco and baking spices. Rich flavors of sweet oak, vanilla, maple pecan, warm baking spice, and tobacco lead to a long, warm, and deceptively soft finish. Well, with all of that being said, I had to just really reach out there for some for a spectrum of things to compare it to. I went with the Daily Drinker, Wild Turkey 101. I went with a couple of Friday Night Pours and a special guest. So this is what I would say is a special guest and a Friday Night Pour, simply because of the rarity and the price point. So this is actually a little bit cheaper but harder to find, whereas this is a little more expensive, and I can find it actually. You can order it. So that's what we've got. This is kind of enough delay. Let's just get into it. So I'm going to start with the fun one, the special one, the gift. Well, I don't know if I picked the right ones to go up against it, but on the nose, it really does have some specials. So I just went to the Sake Expo this past weekend, and I had quite a bit of plum sake, and that is apparently one of the things that I like. I'm always learning. That's kind of the whole point of this. And I can smell a little bit of the plum. But also I can get the vanilla and the caramel and the baking spices. But it really does have more of like a sweeter note versus the typical bourbon smell that you get. So it's really, wow. It's got some serious legs on this thing. I mean, like huge drops just sitting on the glass. I'm expecting it to be pretty viscous based off of this. So I don't know, maybe the Four Roses is the only thing that's going to match that. Actually, you know what? Before we take a sip, let's see what the others smell like. They all do have very comparable colors. They really just very, very close to that darkness. I will say this is probably the darkest I have outside of maybe the Old Settler. Now this one has more of the ethanol smell. This is 100 proof, by the way. So 100 proof, 104, 97, and 101. I did stay pretty close to that. I had several 100 proof offerings, but I just didn't see that they were kind of going to hit the spots that I was trying to land on. So I decided to do a couple of proofs around the 100 mark. This one smells really nice, but completely different. I don't get any of that brighter smell that I was getting out of this one. It smells more like just a nice bourbon. Now I do get it out of here. Okay, so So I would say the smells, because I'm trying to find something that's comparable, right, to compare it to tell you if maybe you've had one of these, or maybe you've had this one. But so far, nose pretty close to the Lucky 7 bourbon, which that's an $80 bourbon, and this is a $50 bottle. So that's good. Okay, so Wild Turkey 101 smells a lot more like the Four Roses in that traditional bourbon with a little bit of spice. I would say that the Four Roses smells better than the Wild Turkey, but you know, it is 3 times the cost. All right, so now that we've smelled them, now we get to do the fun pot and go sipping. So, cheers. That's really sweet and spicy. I can tell that it's a high rye. A lot of rye spice, baking spice, cinnamon flavor going through there. But that was really it. Felt like it kind of just stayed right in the middle of the tongue. It didn't branch out. It wasn't viscous like I was hoping, to be completely honest with you. That being said, I'm going to skip this one because I already know the viscosity on this one is ridiculous. I'm going to jump straight to here, and I'm going to go here and then back to here because I want to see how it plays before my mouth gets painted with Four Roses. So, Lucky 7. This is the closest one to the nose, by the way. I got an itch. This is the closest one to the nose, and I wonder how it's going to play with the palate. Cheers. So, this one tastes very much like a traditional bourbon. It actually was quite a bit more viscous than this. I'm a little torn on how I feel about this because it looks like I have really missed my flavors. My nose really close to this, but all right. So Wild Turkey 101. Let's see how this one plays. Spicy. This one is spicy, very similar to this one. Not in the same flavors, but they're both, yeah. So Wild Turkey 101, high rye mash bill, Old Settler Bourbon, high rye mash bill. Very similar in their burn. However, I'm going to go back to this one real quick. Because Lucky 7 missed it. I tried it with the 97 proof, and this just has a different flavor profile. While it is good, it was definitely different. It's really nice, really easy to drink. It's kind of like it's kind of thin, like an Eagle Rare. It has a nice flavor, nice palate, very similar in the way that you get to enjoy Eagle Rare. It has nice flavors and everything, and it's there, and then it's gone. That's what I'm getting out of this. I mean, I really like the palate, especially now that I've had a couple of back and forths. But I mean, it's just kind of thin. The nose, the nose is great. And the flavor, All right. Now it's time to get into the Four Roses and pair this thing up to Single Barrel Select. This is in a $60 bottle, very viscous, a lot of fun to drink. As you can tell, I've been trying to save it. All right. Cheers. All right. So this does have a high rye mash bill in it as part of one of the single barrels that make up the Single Barrel Select or the Small Batch Select. And I can taste it. I get those rye spices in there. This is, I would say, slightly better because of the viscosity than the Settler Bourbon. So here's my rankings. Number one at about $60, $65. And then I would go number two, number three, and number four. Honestly, they're all amazing, and this is the daily simply because of the price point. I mean, you've got $23, you've got $80, you've got $60, you've got $50. The $50 bottle did come in second. The most expensive bottle did not finish first, which is always disappointing. You always want the one that cost you the most to finish ahead. However, it has a different taste than the others across here, so I'm not really upset that I went with stuff that has high rye content and then ended up with a regular bourbon that isn't necessarily a high rye content. And I got different flavors that didn't necessarily put it in, it's still podium out of 4. So that's something. You can always say it finished third. You don't have to say how many contestants it was, unless it's on video, and then it's third out of 4. So anyway, that's where we're at. I think this is really good. That's going to be my recommendation. I'm hoping it ends up in the store just because